Hello and welcome to the Dragon Shed for this month's 3-minute skill. Now this is how to create patterns from your own clothes. So first things first, select something that fits you well. I've got 3 of these t-shirts and they fit nicely on my shoulders. They're not saggy, they're not excessively flouncy, they don't have too much fabric in them. So they're really comfortable, so I want to be able to make some more. I've got some jersey fabric already put to one side, so I'll be working on them for the one of the project videos for the end of the month. So first things first, have a look at your garment. Now, things to take into account when you're making a pattern. Has it got any gathers or darts? Now in a fitted shirt like this, you can clearly see the seams where pieces join together, so it's easy to pull apart. It's something that's in jersey, because it stretches so much, it's difficult to see what the exact shape is, but you can see here along the collar I've got some gathering. So if this was an old t-shirt, I would actually take the whole thing apart and completely kind of dissect it so I could actually have the individual pieces, but I actually want to wear this, so I'm not going to do that. So I need to take into account that there is going to be some extra distance, extra fabric here. Not that I can see what it is, but that you've got to take into account. And also when you're looking at your garment, you also need to take into account what kind of fabric it's originally made with. Now, whoever designed it knew what they were using, and they designed their pattern to work with that fabric. So there's no point me trying to make a t-shirt like this out of some woven cotton, because it doesn't have the flexibility to actually work as a t-shirt. So, and something else to take into account is where it stretches. Now this being jersey has got stretch in this direction, but not so much in that direction. So things that have got lycra in them or elastane will have stretch in a couple of directions. So jersey just has it in one direction because it's a knitted fabric and not a woven fabric. So first things first, fold in half if you can. The t-shirt is a nice symmetrical pattern, so it's easier to work with. And try and match all the seams together as far as possible. So I've got my seams sitting fairly flat down here, and I've got a nice neat fold at the front. Now if you've got craft paper, use craft paper. I'm using some kitchen greaseproof because it comes in a long roll and it does the job essentially. So this is just about big enough to reach the end of the fabric. I've got maybe an extra ½ inch here, so I'll make a note of that as I'm going through. So for the bottom edge, I'm just going to fold up to give it a straight line, and make sure I'm tucked into the front corner, and just work it up here. So this paper is thin enough that I can feel where the seam is through the fabric, so that makes this part a lot easier. If you've got a thicker tracing fabric, you'll need to keep flipping up the fabric to do this. So find the line and just kind of mark every inch or so. I'm not adding seam allowance at this point, I'll do that at the end. Here I've got top of my shoulder, and I'm going to come round and find the top of the shoulder seam here and mark that, and then follow that round. Okay, so because I'm plus size model, as it were, I've made a extra large sheet of paper. If you're using a craft paper or something like that, that'll come in a nice wide roll, so you won't need to do that. So I'm just lining up my first tracing. That. Making sure that's as flat as possible. Now, as I've said, if you're a person of average size, you won't need to do this process. You can just do this straight onto your original piece. Or if your project is quite large, then you might need the extra. Okay. So I normally do this in pencil, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So first of all, I want to trace the outline I've got. Far away the original. Just make sure the lines are clear. And just to remind myself, alright, on fold, on the line that goes on the fold, just in case, because I have been known to cut them out separately. So that is your initial shape, and then you need to add your sewing allowance. Now, I should do this with a pen. Depending on what kind of fabric you use, you might want a kind of a thicker sewing allowance than other fabrics. With a jersey, I go for about 1/2 inch, so that's 15mm, give or take. So you've got a curve to work on. Just make dots around the shape. And then draw it in. Seam allowance doesn't have to be perfect, but if you rely on the seam allowance to guide your line when you're sewing, then it can cause problems if it's not. So the choice is up to you how precise you feel like being. So I'm going to go around the whole of the shape and add about 1/2 inch. Now for the bottom, I'm going to leave it on the line. I'm going to cut it just exactly on the line because I don't know exactly how much length I'm going to have left out of my fabric. So just another note just to add the seam at the bottom. So, oh, should be fairly obvious, but clearly label every part, otherwise you'll end up losing bits and pieces. And if you've got lots and lots of pieces, then it's good to say if it's the first of 3 or first of 5 or whatever, just so you know how many you've got to cut. And something I should have marked when I was taking the original shape is the grain direction. Again, with the jersey, that's going to be a vertical, so two-sided arrow shows grain is that way, stretch is this way. So that is how to get a sewing pattern from one of your own items out of your own wardrobe. Always remember to kind of dissect the work in your mind, even if you can't actually do it physically, so you can see where things go and how they fit together. So that's part 1. I'll finish the rest. I'll be back with you later in the month for the t-shirt making project.